For decades, we've been taught to think of sleep as just a simple flip of a neurological switch, like it's something that happens exclusively inside our heads. But what if treating sleep as this isolated brain function is the exact reason so many of us are constantly exhausted? Well, in this explainer, we're going on a real deep dive into the interconnected architecture of sleep. We're going to look at the rigorous, evidence-based science of how our micromental health, our gut health, and even our cellular aging are all inextricably linked to our nightly recovery.
So let me ask you something. Why does a full 8 hours of sleep often leave you feeling completely exhausted? Seriously, you track your sleep, you get into bed on time, the clock says you log the hours, yet you still wake up feeling like you desperately need a nap. It's kind of crazy, right? This is one of the greatest modern lifestyle contradictions we face today, and it drastically impacts our daily energy, our cognitive performance, and our emotional resilience. The answer actually lies in the fact that just getting into bed does not automatically equal physiological recovery. If your internal systems are still actively working, there's absolutely no way your brain can reach those deep, restorative stages of sleep.
We really need a massive paradigm shift here. We have to move away from that outdated model of sleep being just a brain thing and embrace the reality sleep is a synchronized whole-body system. It's all connected. If your gut is actively digesting a heavy meal or your bladder is chemically irritated, your brain is receiving stress signals that literally fracture your sleep architecture. Every system influences every other system. Stress affects your gut affects your sleep affects your brain health, and your brain health totally dictates your ability to do deep work the next day. It's like a giant biological puzzle.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Anatomy of restless nights. 2. The gut-sleep connection. 3. The bladder's midnight alarm. 4. Dietary sleep saboteurs. 5. Science of sleep supplements. And 6. Optimizing sleep hygiene.
Section 1. The gut-sleep connection. Digestive mechanics. So, during the nocturnal sleep state, our gastrointestinal system shifts from active digestion into a restorative phase. This phase is dominated by something called the migrating motor complex, or MMC. Honestly, you can just think of it as your gut's nighttime janitorial staff. It uses these cyclical, coordinated waves of electromechanical activity to literally sweep through the stomach and small intestine, clearing out undigested food and cellular debris. But here is the absolutely crucial point. When you eat right before bed, you force your body into active metabolic processing. This completely halts the MMC's nocturnal house cleaning. Your gut is stuck working the night shift when it should be repairing itself.
And that leads us to a pretty shocking clinical finding. Eating within 3 hours of bedtime increases nocturnal acid reflux episodes by exactly 67%. 67%. Research also shows it extends total esophageal acid exposure time by 45%. When your stomach is actively producing acid while you sleep, it causes these micro-arousals. Now, you might not even fully wake up, but your brain is constantly being pulled out of deep, restorative sleep. It completely fragments your sleep architecture, and by the way, it's heavily linked to snoring and sleep apnea.
Think about it like this. Under normal, upright conditions, gravity helps keep all those highly acidic gastric juices right where they belong, in the stomach. But when you transition to a horizontal position shortly after eating, well, that gravitational assist totally vanishes. Acid flows backward through the lower esophageal sphincter directly into the esophagus. This triggers a physical stress response right when your body is trying its hardest to relax.
So, what are the specific culprits sabotaging our rest? It all comes down to some fascinating biochemistry. Take aged cheese, for example. It contains tyramine, which actually stimulates the release of norepinephrine that elevates your heart rate and delays sleep onset. Salami and cured meats, they contain preservative amino acids that cause vasoconstriction and raise your blood pressure. Spicy curry is a major offender. The capsaicin disrupts your hypothalamic thermoregulation. You see, your core body temperature actually needs to drop for you to enter deep sleep, and capsaicin prevents that from happening. And ice cream before bed? The heavy saturated fat and sugar delay gastric emptying and spike your blood sugar, which triggers a cortisol release. The result? Completely superficial, fragmented sleep.
Section 2. The midnight bladder alarm. Renal disruptions.
All right, this brings us to a medical term you really need to know. Nocturia. This is the need to wake up frequently during the night to urinate. Now, waking up to pee isn't just an annoying inconvenience. It is actively damaging your health span. Every single time you wake up, you interrupt a sleep cycle. You lose out on the deep, slow-wave sleep that's absolutely vital for physical repair, and the REM sleep necessary for cognitive preservation and emotional resilience. Over time, nocturia heavily degrades your micromental health and your daytime productivity.
And our dietary choices play a massive role here too. Certain foods and drinks are what we call vesical irritants, meaning they directly irritate the bladder. Caffeine is a primary offender. It acts as a direct detrusor muscle stimulant, triggering involuntary bladder contractions, and it's an adenosine receptor antagonist that increases urine volume. Then there's alcohol. It inhibits the secretion of the antidiuretic hormone, causing rapid urine accumulation, while simultaneously numbing your brain's ability to sense bladder fullness until it's an absolute emergency. Carbonation physically increases the sensitivity of bladder wall receptors. And highly acidic foods like tomatoes and citrus, they lower your urine pH, which chemically burns the transitional epithelium of the bladder lining. Yikes! Now, this perfectly dismantles a very popular health myth, the idea that you should aggressively hydrate with 8 to 10 glasses of water right up until your head hits the pillow. The fact is, while daytime hydration is absolutely vital for cellular health, chugging water at night only guarantees sleep disruption. The evidence-based approach is to front-load your hydration during the day, taper your fluids in the evening, and only take small sips before bed. We have to balance the need for hydration with the critical biological need for uninterrupted sleep.
But actually, scratch that, it's not just about water volume, it's about what is hidden inside our food. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame are direct chemical triggers for bladder spasms. MSG acts as an excitatory neurotransmitter that can trigger urgency in sensitive individuals. Carbon dioxide, the fizz in your sparkling water, is a massive irritant. And for those with sensitivities, the systemic inflammation from gluten or the heavy calcium and protein load in dairy can also heighten bladder sensitivity. These are sneaky, everyday culprits that are quietly sabotaging your sleep.
Section 3. The Science of Sleep Supplements, Neurochemical Mechanisms.
You've probably seen the viral Sleepy Girl mocktail all over the internet. It claims to be the ultimate natural sleep aid. The recipe is super simple. Step 1, pour half a cup of tart cherry juice. Step 2, mix in a tablespoon of magnesium powder. Step 3, top it off with prebiotic soda or sparkling water. Sounds incredibly healthy, right? Well, when we actually apply interconnected systems thinking to this trend, a very different picture emerges.
Because here's the brilliant, or maybe not so brilliant, irony of this recipe. It mixes potent sleep inducers with a potent sleep disruptor. Yes, the tart cherry juice and magnesium are scientifically proven to promote relaxation. But that fizzy carbonated mixer, as we just learned, carbon dioxide is a known vesical irritant. It increases bladder sensitivity and causes nocturia. So you're literally taking a drink designed to keep you asleep and mixing it with a carbonated liquid that guarantees you're going to wake up at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. Now, if we isolate the good ingredients from that trend, the clinical analysis is actually quite impressive. Tart cherry juice, specifically the Montmorency variety, is a rich, natural source of melatonin and tryptophan. In clinical trials, it increased total sleep time in older adults by a massive 84 minutes. 84 minutes, that's a huge deal. Magnesium, on the other hand, is an essential mineral that binds to GABA receptors. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter that basically acts like the brakes for your brain. It reduces nervous system excitability, lowers cortisol, and promotes deep physical relaxation.
Let's look at a couple of other heavily researched compounds while we're at it. Ashwagandha is a powerful adaptogen used for centuries in Ayurvedic medicine. It works biochemically to regulate the body's stress response, balancing those cortisol levels and easing the anxiety that often keeps us staring at the ceiling. L-theanine, which is an amino acid found in green tea, works a bit differently. It acts directly on neurons to influence your brainwave activity, smoothing the transition into sleep without causing that groggy daytime drowsiness. By understanding these specific mechanisms, you can really tailor your protocol based on whether you need stress reduction or just neurological calming.
And speaking of drinks, we absolutely have to explicitly dismantle the nightcap myth. The idea that alcohol helps you sleep is a really dangerous misconception. Fact, alcohol might act as a central nervous system depressant that makes you feel drowsy at first, but it completely destroys your restorative sleep cycle. It inhibits the antidiuretic hormone, filling your bladder rapidly, and as the alcohol metabolizes, it causes a rebound effect that fractures your REM sleep. So yeah, you might pass out quickly, but your sleep architecture is entirely compromised for the rest of the night.
Section 4. Optimizing Sleep Hygiene, Elite Behavioral Protocol.
So, how do we bring all this together? This brings us to the highly structured 10-3-2-1-0 rule. This timeline perfectly aligns with our circadian biology. 10 hours before bed, no more caffeine, which allows adenosine to build up naturally. 3 hours before bed, no more food or alcohol,
giving your stomach time to empty and preventing acid reflux. 2 hours before bed, stop working, so you can lower cortisol and cognitive arousal. 1 hour before bed, no more screens or blue light, allowing your natural melatonin production to peak. And 0? That's the number of times you hit the snooze button in the morning, which heavily protects your circadian rhythm.
Environmental adjustments are the final piece of the puzzle to orchestrate the perfect conditions for recovery. You need consistent bedtimes to anchor your internal clock. Keep your room temperature cool, ideally between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit, to help facilitate that critical drop in core body temperature. Keep your lighting dim in the evening, but conversely, make sure you get bright, natural sunlight exposure early in the day. That daytime light is absolutely crucial to regulate your cortisol and melatonin cycles.
To really reinforce this whole theme, Dr. Nancy Foldberry-Schaefer, a sleep medicine specialist, hit the nail on the head when she said sleep hygiene is essentially the prep work we can do to protect our sleep. Quality sleep is not just some passive event that magically happens to you when you close your eyes. It is the direct result of deliberate, intentional preparation, and that prep work begins from the moment you wake up. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought, a chance to really audit your own lifestyle. Is your daytime routine secretly sabotaging your nighttime recovery? Remember, your health is not just a series of isolated systems. Your daytime stress affects your digestion, your dinner timing affects your bladder, and your bladder dictates whether your brain gets the deep work recovery it desperately needs for the next day. Fix the system, and you fix your sleep. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to start applying these frameworks tonight.